Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to continue our class, ST Human Sciences. We're moving towards the end of our consideration of ancient Rome. So today we're going to do two things. First, just a very quick review of some of the things that we've seen with regard to ancient Rome. And then we're going to focus on the decline of Rome or the weakening of Rome and then eventually the fall of at least the western part of the Roman Empire. That's why this picture is important because this is the man who would lead those people who would um, cause the immediate fall of the western part of the empire. Okay, just a quick note. Link to this video recording is a text, is a reading from the book that we've been using. So I'm talking about those blue pages, pages 193 to 194. These pages talk about the reasons why Rome fell into a decline and eventually suffered defeat at the hands of other people, you know, non-Romans who conquered Rome. As if you take a look at those pages, you will see that there are yellow boxes with text in them, and then also within those yellow boxes you have smaller white boxes with the letters either I or E. So that those letters simply refer to external causes. So if it's an E, external cause; if it's an I, internal cause. So we're talking about the causes of the decline and the fall of Rome. So if it's an E in the box, then it means these are things that led to the fall of Rome, but things that are external, that are from the outside, and the internal meaning issues or things that happen within the empire. So if it's external, there was it was more out of the control of the Romans. If it was internal, it was something that was more within their control. Okay, I hope that's clear. Then I also recommend this YouTube video called Ancient Rome in 20 Minutes. You can watch a part of that video. We've seen different parts of this already, but you can do this on your own. You can start from the 16th minute and then until the very end of the video. It's a short video, and it's very enjoyable. It's very entertaining as well as, and informative too. So I recommend that you can take a look at it, look for it on YouTube. And it also talks about one of the most successful emperors of Rome, Emperor Trajan, who is pictured here. Okay, moving on. Now, just a quick review. Remember that for almost 500 years, Rome was a republic, and then one of the figures we talked about in class, Julius Caesar, he would emerge from a civil war. He would win that civil war, and he would get himself elected as consul for life, as ruler for life. Some senators did not like this, so they assassinated Julius Caesar. That would precipitate another civil war, and Octavian, one of the one of the competitors, one of the leaders in that civil war, he would eventually win. Once he puts down his enemies, he would proclaim himself emperor of Rome. So Caesar Augustus, he takes up the name Caesar Augustus. And then you have the end at that time you have the end of the Republic and the birth of the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire would last for centuries. Uh, just take a look at those dates there. So Julius Caesar and Octavian, we're talking about BCE, or you know BC. BCE means before the Common Era. We used to say BC, before Christ. And then we can talk about another important emperor who made crucial, very important decisions that concern the empire. He would also emerge out of a civil war. So in 306 CE, Common Era, or as we used to say, AD, Constantine becomes emperor, and he would officially tolerate Christianity in 313 CE. So, officially tolerate Christianity, that means that he allowed Christians to worship, to practice their religion, to build temples. So the Christians no longer had to hide in Rome, in the empire. They were before this, they were persecuted, they were hunted down, they were killed. But Constantine made the decision to tolerate Christianity. Also, he moved the capital of the empire from Rome to Byzantium, also called Constantinople, as you can see. He named the city after himself. And later on, another emperor would make a fateful decision, a very significant decision to make Christianity the official religion of the entire empire. So Theodosius the First. Um, but then at the end of the reign of Theodosius the First, so that's 395 AD or B or CE, the Roman Empire would be divided into the eastern part here and the western part. So the sons of Theodosius would divide the empire between themselves. Each part of the empire would have its own emperor, okay? But the western part would become weaker and weaker, and it's this part that would eventually fall. The eastern part, also called Byzantium, would last for another 1,000 years. So this would be relatively safe for a long time. Okay, now we need to talk about the decline of Rome, the weakening of Rome. Okay, the events that would lead to the fall, the eventual defeat, the fall of Rome. Okay, Rome had been around for about 1,000 years. If we're talking about the decline of Rome, we're talking about the long process. We're talking about many, many years. Um, some historians would say that the decline, the start of the fall of Rome, started after Constantine's death in 337 AD. What happened? So you have Germanic tribes, if you remember the how the empire looked. So here at the frontiers of the Roman Empire, these frontiers were built in order to keep out people who were not Roman. But then, you know, as in the course of many years, Germanic tribes would enter Rome, you know, not all at the same time, but gradually, they would enter Rome. In some cases, they would even be given land by the Romans, so they would settle within the Roman Empire. So we're talking about, tribes like the Vandals, the Visigoths, the Saxons, and the Franks. Some of them would join the Roman army. Some of them would become mercenaries or soldiers that you paid, non-Roman soldiers that you paid to fight for you. But then in 480, at the same time, you have somebody from the east, Attila the Hun. He invaded Germany, so he invaded the Germanic lands, and then that caused the Germanic peoples to move westward into Rome. Okay, they tried to flee Attila the Hun and his forces. So, given this, you can understand that different sorts of people were entering Rome, were entering the institutions of Rome, like the army. And then at the same time, other things were happening. So, civil wars, internal conflicts within the empire were occurring as well. Eventually, fewer people wanted to become soldiers. This is partly because, Christianity having become the official religion, people believed in Christianity. They were part of Christianity, and Christianity has taught um, forms of ideas of non-violence, obedience, charity, kindness, etc. So you can understand that it's partly because of Christianity that fewer people wanted to become Roman soldiers, and there was a constant change of emperors. They were Many of them were installed by powerful generals as puppets, so that led to a lot of instability within Rome. You can imagine, if you changed your leaders often, then that's not good for any country. Simultaneously, parts of the empire suffer from diseases, so people died. You had fewer people. You had fewer people to work and to you had fewer workers and farmers, and if you had fewer people, then that meant that the government itself had to impose higher taxes. Um, and so if you have a smaller population in the cities, you can imagine that the economy was going down, was declining as well. Fewer people to produce goods and fewer people to consume those goods. And then decisive defeats of Rome would come around 400 AD. So, for instance, in 410 AD, a Germanic army, a Visigoth army, defeated the Romans. They were led by King Alaric. The Visigoth army was led by King Alaric. They entered Rome, sacked it, looted it. That means they killed a lot of people, and then they took goods, valuables for themselves. And then finally, in 476 AD, a man named Odoacer, some people believe that, first of all, he's not Roman. Some people believe that he's at least partly Germanic. So he removed the last emperor of Rome and proclaimed himself the king. So the last emperor of Rome, who was at this point, 16 years old, he was named, ironically, Romulus Augustulus. So Romulus, named after the very first king of Rome, and Augustulus, that's a marker of somebody who's small or young. So that was the last emperor of Rome, deposed or removed from his position by Odoacer. And eventually, the Germanic tribes would spread out. They would they would install themselves in different parts of the empire. So the Vandals would go into Spain and southern Gaul or France. France itself became the kingdom of the Franks, and Britain would be occupied by different Germanic tribes, the Jutes, the Saxons, and the Angles, as you can see there. Even England is named after one of those tribes, just as France is named after one of those Germanic tribes. Unfortunately, these tribes did not organize themselves like the Romans, so no central authority, so you had different rulers, and all those things that the Romans built, they fell into decay. So we're talking about buildings, roads, temples, aqueducts that were not maintained. So you have this fall into ruin of all of these things. Okay, I hope that's clear. In the next video, we're going to talk about the legacy of Rome. Legacy, by legacy, we mean things that the Romans left behind and that we still find valuable or important today. Okay, I'll see you there.